Tutorial 1, Accounting Cycle, a continuation. This is our lesson number 7, and we are discussing about classification of impersonal accounts. More specifically, we are focusing on nominal accounts. Remember, this is with Dr. Geoffrey Mbova of AccountingNest.com. Welcome. Now, under classification of nominal accounts, there are two categories. That is expense account, which is made up of a further classification of trading expense account and operating expense account. And number 2, we have got income account, which is also similarly classified further into 2. That's the trading account, income account, and operating income account. Now, in our discussion today, we are focusing on the expense account perspective. So there we go. But before we look at the expense account specifically, we need to know what's all about nominal account. Now, how do we define this term? Now, a nominal account is a chronological record where transactions associated with the expenses and the income are normally recorded. I would like you to note this, that nominal account affiliated transactions does not create a debtor-creditor relationship with the business. Okay? It is not as it is in the case of personal accounts. Now, nominal accounts are further classified into Roman 1, expense account, and Roman 2, income, or what we call revenue account. So let's now go to the first category, that is expense account. How do we define this term? Now, expense account is a chronological record for expense transactions which are also referred to as consumed assets. An expense account is used for recording actual cash outflow from the business. All right. Now, with that definition, I want you to remember this. The term expense and the term expenditure are two different items or concepts, and they don't need to be mixed when we are discussing wherever. Why? Because most students, even learners for that sake, normally use the term expense and the expenditure concurrently or interchangeably, which is not correct. In fact, just refer to our AccountingNest.com website and see the point of detail. Now back to expense account. Expense account is further classified into 2. That's a trading expense account, and number 2, we've got operating expense account. All right. Now let's go to the case of trading expense account. How do we define this term? Now, trading expense account is a chronological record for all cash outflows as a result of payments made by the business for activities of trading nature. For example, I've got 2 transactions, that is transaction 1 and 2, which represents this scenario. That is, transaction 1, we have got the purchase of inventory. That is when you purchase goods for reselling purposes, then the corresponding account will be referred to as purchases account. Similarly, in transaction 2, as you can see from the board, is that the amount paid for carriage inwards also referred to as transport on purchases, represents a case of a trading expense, and therefore the corresponding account is referred to as a current inwards account. So in a nutshell, I want you to note this, that under trading expense account, the two key examples of such account are purchases account and the current inwards account. Then when it comes to part B, that is operating expense account, how do we define this term? Now, operating expense account is a chronological record for all cash outflows as a result of payments made by the business for incidental activities which are not of trading nature. Alright? So, for example, we have got the salary expense account, which is actually an account for recording all transactions to do with employees' salary payments. Secondly, we have got the electricity expense account. This is for recording all transactions which has to do with electricity bills payments. Thirdly, we have got water bills. These are some of the common expense transactions that we meet every now and then. Now, this account is for recording all transactions to do with water bills payments. And lastly, we have got insurance expense account, whereby is an account that is used for all transactions to do with insurance cover expenses such as premium payments. So look at all those. They are good examples of operating expense account that businesses normally undertakes. Now, the following examples are illustrations that are going to help us to understand how these transactions are recorded in their respective ledger accounts. I've taken two cases, illustration 1 and illustration 2, to take care of both the trading expense nature of accounts and the operating expenditure kind of an account. So on 1st October 2021, Coconut Company Limited purchased inventory for $22,000 US by cash. So with this kind of a transaction, when we are recording this, or when the Coconut Company Limited is recording this transaction in the general ledger or book, or its general ledger book, then under nominal, that's a trading expense, you'll find the following account, that is a purchases account. Now, this is a good example of a trading expense account. So the recording is made on the debit side with these details of a ledger account, then the entries are done on the debit side as recorded up there. Now, illustration 2, it has to do with operating expense account. How do we record such a transaction? Now, on 31st December 2021, Coconut Company Limited paid salaries for the permanent employees for 1 year amounting to $10,000 by check. So how is this recording done? Now, in the general ledger or book of Coconut Company Limited, under nominal, that is operating expenses, you will find this account, that is a salaries account. This is a good example of operating expense account of a business. So the entries again are recorded as follows. That is, on 31st December 2021, we see cash book recorded on the debit side of 10,000 in his salaries account. So you see, that is how recording of business transactions are done when it comes to expenditure accounts of a business, whether they are of trading or they are of operating nature. And this marks the end of this lesson. Thank you. Remember, our materials and notes are available in our website accountingnest.com. Thank you.